Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
We love swallowing.
Swallow the water there, Luke.
Hey, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched The Mission. It's Impossible. Dead Reckoning.
I had
Part
to think.
1.
Part 1. Jesus.
Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Title almost as long as the movie itself.
Our lives are the sum of our choices. And we cannot escape the past. Ethan, this mission of yours is gonna cost you dearly.
It really lets you know what you're in store for.
Yeah, it really
It's
does.
like Fiona Apple titled this movie.
This movie is apparently... Well, so here's the interesting first thing. People are being like, oh, it's bombing.
No,
or
it's
like
not.
it's going under projection. It's not. It's just that when you make movies for $300 million, they all bomb.
Yes.
I would argue. I think the pandemic had something to do with it. They delayed it, and that probably cost them more money. But like maybe, I've been seeing articles about like, why are all the movies bombing? And it's like, maybe that's just how much movies make. Maybe that's just the amount that movies now make.
Maybe there's a ceiling for how much money movies can make. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe not every movie can be $1 billion. Anyway, that's not what this podcast is about, Dave.
No, it's not. It's a little bit, though, because I think this movie is a great example. It's like the perfect example of what's happening at the box office. Because, let's start with the question. How did you like this movie, Tom?
I enjoyed this movie fine. Like any other Mission Impossible movie before it, we joke about it all the time when we cover these trailers and when we've covered Missions Impossible in the past. Where they're really good movies. They're well made. They have great stunts. And as soon as you walk out of the theater, you never think about them again.
It's true. I will say, I think this is my favorite one since the first one. I actually like this movie
good. Yeah.
more than the others, and the reasons why. And that isn't to say the others weren't also good.
I don't agree. I don't agree totally, but I just wanted to make that caveat. But anyway,
for sure. Yeah, for sure. There's a vibe of this movie that I really liked that I felt like has been missing from some of the previous ones. And I think it is hard to tell them all apart.
Oh, I wonder if it's the same thing because I had a similar thought. Can I tell you real quick what my thought was?
Yeah.
It was like the danger of the espionage.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. So spy movies. I've been thinking about
spy movies are thrillers.
Yeah, they're almost horror.
They're almost horror movies, yeah, because it's all about I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, they're treated like horror. Like there's these moments of horror because it's the idea. It's almost like It Follows, where it's like it could be anyone.
Right,
That's
and you
the
don't
idea.
know. The opening sequence of the original Brian De Palma Mission Impossible, where it's they have a mole and their mission's compromised, but the way that plays out in real time is like a horror movie. It's everybody's getting killed off one by one and nobody understands what's happening. It's bewildering. Nobody knows where it's coming from. Like there's this tension in spy movies of like the 60s or 70s, like this of espionage thrillers where there's like this it does play almost like a horror movie where it's like the stakes are life and death at every turn, and it's like a heist movie without the fun. It's like a Soderbergh movie. It's like Ocean's 11 if they were all going to get executed if something went wrong. Like it's
exactly
And you never know when something's going to go. And it's scary. Something always goes wrong, and it's always like a big oh shit thing. Like And yeah, I totally agree. The movies have really been missing that because they pretty much became just straightforward action movies for like 2 through the last most recent one. But this one
that's
really,
fine.
and that's sure, that's totally fine. They're awesome movies. They have great stunts in them, great sequences, a lot of fun bits. I think 4 is the best one still. But like, you're right. It was missing that like thriller espionage element of where it was like, it made you feel all the parts of the mission where like, it's not just what Ethan's doing, it's what everybody else is doing as well. That has to all, come together at the same time in order for the mission to come off. But like, there's like, I feel like they haven't really done that in a while. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
And I think, like, when you think about this series, fundamentally, like, it's a series where people can wear masks of other people.
Yeah.
Like, that's terrifying and creepy. And this movie seems to know it more. And it's telling a lot of a creepier story. And I think part of that, as silly as it is the villain, which is an AI.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, which of course is silly because AI is silly.
But like, it's a movie called Mission Impossible. Like, it's based on a TV show about like over the top spy hijinks, and like you just said, it's a universe where you can wear a perfect copy of another human's face. Like it
exactly.
I sort of there's a scene where like Ving Rhames is explaining to Ethan like the severity of the entity, which is what they call the AI, and I remember having that thought. I was like, this is really campy, but it is based on a campy TV show from like 60 years ago.
And they treat it like a ghost, like a phantom, which again is very spy movie to me, which is like this mysterious figure that's killing them or controlling, like, pulling the strings, but we don't know what it is. And that's how they do it in this. And I thought that like really kind of made it a lot like again, the other ones are good, but that kind of made it a lot more fresh for me, and it felt more noir-y and more creepy. Though it still had like silly stuff in action. And it just stood out to me as like, this feels more like the vibe of the first one, which I really liked for all of those reasons as well.
Where, like it's kind of a mystery. You don't really know what's happening until you get to the end of the movie. It's the sense that you're up against an overwhelming force. Whereas in like a lot of the previous ones, apart from the very first Mission Impossible, like the villain is very clear and identified very early in all the previous Mission Impossibles. For the most part, except for, the last one, there's like a twist, but everybody saw that twist coming. Anyway, the point is, this one, it still is that sense of this mysterious, overwhelming force, and we don't really understand who or what it is until almost the end of the movie. So, that's another thing that has in common with the first movie.
I also think I like the... I like the reveals they can have. There's a part where they're at a club and they're like, "Who arranged this meeting?" And they're like, we're in it. And you realize like all the lights and the screens are the AI. Yeah, the AI has been watching
the whole time. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, because it wasn't like a cheat because they already showed it to us, so we know what it looks like. It's just you were just assuming that it was just random nonsense playing on screens.
It looks like a rave. It looks like a fucking rave.
Exactly.
And then you realize, like, oh, the screens aren't showing like rave lights. It's the AI just sitting there watching,
just fucking chilling
things
out,
like that. I also, a big thing that I think the other Mission Possibles have trouble with, that this one didn't, that set it apart, and I could be wrong, I'm trying to remember, is that a really hard thing that the Ocean's 11s also ran into, not the first one, but the later, and some of the Mission Impossibles, is like when you're doing a heist, or like you have to get into this spot, or you have to break in, it's so easy for them to sort of just like make up technology for the people to do, and they sort of do that in the beginning, like in the airport. But for the most part, it didn't feel like they leaned on that, where they're like, this is a imaginary technology that can just do this thing.
Right. It all
specifically because the AI controls all technology. So like it's the big stunt of the movie to like get on the train and stuff like that. It's like they create these really like simple way like methods, as opposed to, oh, he's gonna put this like device against this thing, it'll light up and the door will unlock. And it's like, why did it unlock? Because we said so. I
wanted to talk about that. I think, and that's like the Mission Impossible movies have always kind of been about the stunt. Well, not always, but since like number 4 on, they've been about the stunts.
Right.
And I like this movie, like what you're saying, they make all of the ways to solve the problem. It's like, we're not impressed with how like clever, well, I mean, there's cleverness in the movie. Like there's some pretty neat writing and some clever sequences, but it's not about like what you said, where it's like having somebody have to plug this thing in at the right thing and hack it at the right time.
Right. It's not like playing make-believe with a child where they're just making up
they make the
things.
They make the impressive thing the stunt. And like,
Yeah.
So in the movie, really, I think this one does this better than any of them have so far, where the movie, and this is a symptom of just Tom Cruise getting older, but the movie really wants you to be impressed by the stunts, and it treats the stunts appropriately. Like they're this big, impressive thing that you should be like, you're going to feel this. And one smart thing they did with the writing, or like the characterization of it, is they kind of made Ethan in this movie kind of more Indiana Jones, right? Like every time he has to do one of these fantastical stunts, he's not just like running into it unthinkingly because like, oh, he's just a man.
He's relentless. Mad about it.
He's the guy who's got to get the job done, and this is just what it takes. Yeah, he's like begrudgingly doing it. He's bummed about it. And like when he does the stunts, we see that it's dangerous and that it hurts and that it's not like, it's not cool. Like when he does the motorcycle jump into the wingsuit off of a cliff, I mean, objectively, that's cool. But then it cuts to him as he's like, he has to stay completely rigid in order to fall correctly without killing himself. And it's like, blowing his face so he looks ridiculous. And he's like, I'm going to get to the train, Benji, don't worry. Like, they really take the time to show you that, like,
he's actually doing it,
and they want you to feel they want you to feel the weight of it. They understand that we still need to be able to identify with him while he's doing. So if he's just a superhero, we're not worried about it. Like, we're not feeling it in that way. But like, if we know that it's scary and that it hurts and that he doesn't want to do it, like he's like any one of us, where he's like, I don't fucking want to ride this motorcycle off a cliff. That seems scary.
Yeah, the part where he like first realizes that's what he's
what he has to do. Yeah,
he's like, oh fuck. I want to talk about this movie. I don't mean to like put down the other film, but in terms of Fast X,
sure,
which is
I kept thinking of the same thing though, but you're right.
Okay,
so
yeah, because Fast X and a lot of action recently doesn't quite understand what we want from action. Yeah. John Wick, for example, the new John Wick has some great examples of what we do want.
Yes.
Like that idea of him getting knocked down the stairs and having to start over
all
again.
the way back down to the bottom, yeah.
And it's something the new Indiana Jones movie could have done very easily and seemed to not, which is like, we really like putting the hero in a position where they're not
the strongest person in the room. They don't have all the cards. Like, it's not
that's
fun.
The whole point.
Right. There's a time and place for that. Like, sometimes we do want to see like Superman just mow through people, like, but
sure.
But that's what Die Hard tapped into. That's why Die Hard, we like to see exactly what you're talking about.
Most of the time, that's what we want to see.
Yeah.
And most action movies, like you look at the Mission Impossibles, where it's like they always have something go wrong for that reason, right?
Right. None of the missions go correctly. That's pretty traditional, like writing when you're writing like heists or things of that nature. Like, something has to go wrong. That's just like how drama works. But for sure, 100%. None of them go right in the movies.
Yeah, and the more understandable, because this is why the other ones are still good, but I think they lean on technology too much. Like when he climbs that fucking tower, I believe it's to climb the tower to do hack, to do some sort of hacking that we don't fully understand.
Right, he has to get into like some server room, I think, or something.
Right. It's very easy to like sort of still yada yada in a way that it makes it feel. I personally feel it less than if it's like, okay, you got to dangle in this room, you can't touch the ground, and you got to like download this thing from a computer. Easy. You're getting something, you're putting it,
right,
which
but
is the first one.
The thing you remember about that scene is not him downloading; it's him not being able to touch the ground or make a noise.
Right.
But
then there's also a very simple task that you sort of understand.
Right.
So it
doesn't make it too complicated, so that the thing the stunt that you're seeing on screen is what you're being impressed with. And something I thought about just real quick, it was just something that you had actually said when we covered one of them Jurassic Worlds, I think Fallen Kingdom, where
Yeah.
they don't shoot the dinosaurs like they're impressive anymore. Like
Right.
this movie shoots the stunts like they're dinosaurs, if that makes sense. Like I kept
Oh,
having
yeah.
that thought while I was watching it.
Yeah, this is shooting the stuff because they're really doing it.
Yeah.
And they want us to know they're really doing it, and they've thought about it, and they've planned it out, and they've done the work. So it shoots it as such. And then again, he's always the underdog. And I want to talk about, so in Fast X, that first car chase where he has to hit his car into the bomb and it's no problem. Like, that's the stuff where I'm like, what is even the point of this? I'm not, like, it's a CGI car. He's not getting hurt. There's no stakes. He's the biggest dick in the room.
I think
all the time, Vin Diesel, right? Whereas
Right.
in this one, they have a car chase where he's like, I need a new car. They put him in a little yellow piece of shit. And I was like, thank you. That is
And-
the best fucking idea. And handcuffs
And
him to the other
handcuffed
woman.
to Haley Atwell. Yeah, that's a great sequence. And then
And that's the
they
shit
fucking
where it's like-
roll down they roll down a staircase and they've swapped places. That is such
Yeah,
a
that
good
was so
sequence.
funny.
Oh my god.
That was like
this movie kind of
Spielberg-esque.
rules,
That was-
right? This movie
yeah,
kind of rules.
That's what I'm saying. That was almost Spielberg-esque.
Yeah.
That chase is so good because they give the villain a Hummer and they give them this little piece of shit. And it's like, Vin Diesel would never allow that. And that's
No,
the
he'd
problem,
be
right?
climbing up the buildings on like a motorized Scorpion or some shit. Like,
Right.
yeah.
And it's like you gotta understand why people watch action. It's for exactly this, where he's constantly in between a rock and a hard place in this little shitty car, bright yellow so you can't miss it, so you can't hide, just buzzing down the streets of Venice, just desperately trying to fucking get away from a Hummer, and then like it keeps escalating. There's a new problem every time.
Driven by Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, yeah, yes.
Who is great
She
in
was
this
great.
movie. She's great.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some character stuff with her that I didn't fully understand, but whatever.
Oh,
It's-
there's actually a really interesting thing with her that I wanted to talk about.
okay, cool.
When they have the hallway fight that they tease in the trailers, but it's really cool to film. It's like maybe a foot wide alleyway.
It's
that they're
very
stuck in.
it's shot in this very interesting way, and it's really
Right,
good.
it's actually it's not even in the. This is an occasion where it's not even in the stunts. It's entirely in the way it's shot, because
Yeah.
they can't do much. They can barely move, but the way it's shot, it's this terrifying sequence.
Yes.
But he basically knocks her out. Basically, she's dazed, and he gets a pipe from her, and rather than kill her with it, he just hits the bricks above her head and just throws the pipe down. And he makes a point, like he's like, "Fucking fuck off," and then walks
Yeah.
away. So later on in the film, the bad guy turns on her because he's like, well, the algorithm has told me, like the entity, the AI has told me that you will, in 99% of futures,
okay.
you will eventually betray me because Ethan spared your life. So he tries
That's
to kill her.
actually
And so
that's
like
the part I missed.
so
it
when
makes more sense.
when she saves him at the end, and then it seems like she's dying, but she's not actually dead. Like they come in and she's like, "Oh, she's still got
No,
a
she'll
pulse.
be back.
She'll be back in the next one." But she is like upset she's mad at Ethan, and she's like, "Why did you spare my life?" And it's not like you could read it. Initially, you could read it as like, "Why would you spare my life? Like, why? I'm such a terrible person. Why would you spare me?" But that's not the way she means it. She means it like, "Why did you do this to me?" Because his act of sparing her life confused the fucking algorithm to tell her boss that she would inevitably betray her. So because he did that, she's fucked now. Like it's a really interesting idea to me. Like I thought that was a really cool
that's a cool
thing
idea.
to put on a villain. Yeah.
What I had missed is and it makes sense now, is the idea that the villain was listening to the algorithm. Because when he said that, I was like, wait, what? It didn't click in my
AI
head
is
that it was
talking
because
to
the
him.
algorithm
Yeah.
told him that. Yeah, that makes so much sense. So that was my only like question, and it's answered now. Although I am also a little like unclear about Carrie Elways, and what they thought they were getting out of this guy. But it's
Oh, I don't
it's
know.
fine.
It's
spy shit.
It's spy
also
shit.
like-
There's the. I liked that idea because on the train they show Kittredge, who is not a good guy, but he's definitely lawful neutral in D&D terms as far as the U.S. government's concerned.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So he's on the train to try and buy this mysterious key to secure the United States superiority.
For America, yeah.
And then Carrie Elways, who is his boss, is on the train to sell the key to the bad guy to form an alliance to rule the world. So I think it's showing you that, like, there are people. It's just a way to show you that, yeah, even though
it's the idea that everybody wants this key for various different reasons,
right? Even two high level people in the U.S. government want it for very different reasons.
That makes more sense. You know what it was? Is that at first I was unclear of whether those two were working together.
Oh, no, not at all.
Because I was like, what are the odds they're both on the train? But no, you're right. They don't know the other is there. The other thing is it made me unclear about what the villain wanted, because he was like, you're the only person who knows where the submarine is. And he said, yeah, and he killed him.
Yeah.
So that implies that he also knows where it is, I assume.
The AI would 1,000% know where the submarine is.
Oh,
Why
yeah,
wouldn't
the
it?
AI knows.
Why wouldn't
yeah,
the AI know where the submarine was?
So he's killing him because he's the only
right, like
person
Carrie
who knows.
Elways played a bad hand. Like, he thought he had something. He was like, I know where the submarine is. It's like, well, why the fuck wouldn't the AI that disabled the submarine in the first place and know where the submarine is?
Yeah, exactly.
You played a bad hand, sir.
Yeah. I wanted to go back to the car chase because I'm still thinking about that. Because it's God, it's so good. Because it also
It's
ends
really
with
good,
him.
Dave. It's really good.
They drive onto the subway tracks. He has to get out of that.
Oh, man.
And then this very Indiana Jones, which reminded me of it. He walks out with his handcuffs, his hands
To a
cuffed to the
steering
steering
wheel.
wheel,
It's so
and has to
good.
and gets weird and embarrassed and has to hide it. There's a few points.
Handcuffed to a steering wheel. Like, this movie is more Indiana Jones than the Indiana Jones movie that's currently in theaters.
There's multiple moments where Tom Cruise has this moment of embarrassment.
Yes.
Where he's embarrassed about his situation.
Like the Venice
and,
scene. This movie gets it in the way that the new Indiana Jones movie doesn't get it. It's so
kind of
weird.
It's kind of wild that this has more Indiana Jones moments to me.
Dave, this movie kind of fucks, right?
Yes, that's what I was saying. It's my favorite one since the first one. It gets a lot of stuff really, really right. In my
really
opinion.
nails, even though it's long, but you honestly you don't notice it until you walk out of the theater and look at your fucking phone. You're like, holy shit.
Yeah, it is. This is of course why movies are underperforming, or part of why. I think there's not a lot of goodwill towards blockbusters anymore right now.
Why would there? Especially not right now. We're in the middle of a labor strike.
I was about to say, there's multiple labor strikes, but also people, I've noticed it's funny, because I almost feel heartened by this, where I'm everybody feels like me from years ago now, where I'm online and people are noticing this bullshit that's been pissing me off for a while. Someone was tweeting how that new Secret Wars, these ridiculous green screen shots where they CGI'd Nick Fury's gun. And it's just give him a prop gun, where movies have become it's a shot of him sitting at a desk and it's a green screen shot. And people are fucking why? And of course the reason why is because they want their movies to be so modular that they can fix anything in post, right? That's part of the studio problem.
Part
it's
of it.
Not an art.
The other part is it's minimal production. If there's no set, there's no,
But it's people are starting to get wise to the fact that it all comes to the higher ups, right? Which is it's not the filmmakers fucking up, it's not the writers fucking up. It's that studios are we want to be able to edit out blood for this cut. We want to be able to change the things they're saying.
We want to be able
for this cut. We want to be able to change location if we decide that this should be in a different location and stuff like that.
And to keep as much money as possible. Yeah.
And it's part of why people were talking about that's why lighting is so bad, because sometimes they're lighting and they don't even know what the backdrop is going to be when they're lighting it, where they're it's a green screen shot, we might change what the lighting is, so let's just make it really flat lighting. And so it's all leading to the studio system right now is, I think, just people are starting to get really wise and seeing this compounding effects of this, where they've gotten to indulgent. And so part of it is also here's a fucking part 10 of a movie. It's also 3 hours long. And people are like, come the fuck on, you know?
I know.
Like, we talked about that in Hypecast where it's like, okay, we got 40 minutes of trailers and then a 3 hour long movie that's like a Fast and Furious type sequel or something like that. That's all to say that this movie itself, I think, is more of a victim to that mentality
It is, yeah.
and not actually a product of it.
This
movie is quite good.
Yeah, I wanted to call that out because this movie's all the Missions Impossible are super episodic for the most part.
Yeah.
There's some recurring characters, but overall they're all episodic. You can watch any one of them; it doesn't matter. And this one actually even starts with them giving a rundown of what the IMF even is, which they haven't done in a long time. Because it occurred to me as I was watching this movie, and I'm sure it occurred to Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie when they were making this film, when they were flashing on the screen like credits, like based on the show created by such and such. It's like that show is over half a century old now, I think.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's like we've gotten so divorced from. Like, it's its own IP now, right? Like, it's not even... Like, it has nothing to do with the TV show.
With the show, yeah.
It's its own separate IP now. So I thought that was interesting in terms of, like... And it was really smart, too, where it just kind of, you know, like... I saw this with Marina. She's never seen any of the other ones. So...
Right.
But she didn't need to.
You didn't need to. I thought when I sat down, I was like, do I have to remember the last one? No, I don't.
It's like James Bond.
I know I don't.
Like, they understand that part of it. Like...
There's a few elements.
Tom Cruise is a weird fucking Martian, but boy, he really knows how to make movies. Like,
right. He's also part of the problem, which is that we were talking about this, which is like Hollywood doesn't have any new movie stars. So like this movie isn't going to get the young people in the theater really because it's for people our age. Like that's the other part of it is that like Hollywood has stopped courting like younger demographics. They think they are, but it's like, no, a gritty Willy Wonka, that's not courting a younger demographic. Like you need new movie stars, and Tom Cruise is one of the last. That's why this movie to me feels like one of the last movies from the 90s. Like the only like it feels like it has still all the sensibilities of 90s blockbusters, and that's why it feels better. Like for example, their use of CGI is in here. There's plenty of use of CGI.
There's plenty of digital effects in here, yeah.
But they're only doing it when they have to.
It's to augment or support scenes.
To the point that Christopher McQuarrie, if you follow him on Twitter and stuff, he loves practical effects. He loves stuff like the Texas swap, and he does it all the fucking time.
There's like 3 or 4 times in this movie where he does the Texas swap.
Yeah, because of the mask stuff.
Yeah.
Things that normally these days movies would just punt to CGI without even questioning. Christopher McQuarrie still understands it's like, no, if you could do it practically, do it practically.
It's cheaper when you do it that way. Like, just
do it practically first. All you have to do...
Have an ounce of respect for the medium, and it will save you so much money.
It's not on the artist because I guarantee every artist would do it that way. It's because they're like the higher ups want this to be shot in a way that it's modular and we don't know what the finished effect is going to be and we haven't finished writing it, where it's like I think it's a big part. McQuarrie and Tom Cruise both have respect for the process that the studios no longer have respect for, right? That's a big part of it.
Right.
And so they actually map out their movies. They figure it out. And then they do the effects practically because they get to, because they've actually planned ahead and they know what the shots are going to be. They know how much they need to film, whereas so many films now are shot for coverage where they're like, we'll cobble it together later, and it's like, no.
Make no mistake, Tom Cruise is the reason. Like if Tom Cruise wasn't the person behind these movies, they wouldn't shoot them the way they do.
Exactly. Like, he's using. Yeah. That's the thing. Tom Cruise does what a lot of superstars do. He uses his influence to have power over the shoot. However, a lot of stars do that for ego, whereas he's doing it to make sure the shoot's good.
It genuinely seems like he wants to make a good movie. Like that's what he's concerned with.
Yeah, for
like
people
it really does. I'm not a Tom Cruise stan. Like I understand. I respect him as an actor and producer.
Lot of issues.
I understand he's a weird fucking goblin who had his wives auditioned for him by Scientology. But like, it really does seem like he genuinely wants to make a good movie because he understands that if you make a good movie, the audience will respond to it, and that's the best way to make a successful movie.
He's good at his job.
He's good at his job, yeah.
Yeah, for people, I don't know if this is clear for people or not. Movies, they used to get written, right?
They sure did. They sure did.
They write the script. That would
and
then
people
get handed to
people who were in the industry used to run studios instead of bean counters from Wall Street.
Right, and the producers were there to do money and to make sure everything's on track.
Right.
And to have a bit of creative control if they were in fact creatives. A specific type, but then you'd give that script to a director, and the director would create a shot list, and they would then
interprets the script. Yeah,
they'd do animatics or shot lists, and they would basically like make the movie on paper.
It's like
before even shooting it. So it would be a series where you'd. Well, hold on, let me finish.
I'm sorry.
Where they would say like, okay, we're going to shoot this scene this way, and it will cut here, and we'll cut there. The shot, it'll start on their face and move up to this, and then we'll go to this reaction shot and that. And then they'd shoot it that way. So when they shoot it, they'd be like, we know how much we need to shoot because we mapped it all out.
Right.
And that's not happening anymore, and that's a problem, which is now they'll shoot like random reaction shots or like shoot a bunch of coverage
just in case.
Or do multiple cameras because they haven't mapped out in their head how the movie's going to go. And that creates a lack of artfulness that, again, it's not really the director's fault because it's mandated upon them more than ever.
Many of these movies are also still being written as they're being filmed, which makes it...
So they're...
What I was going to say earlier is it's like, how like when you get... if you have to make an insurance claim for like repairs, and you need to get a repair estimate where they tell you, well, here's how much labor is going to cost, here's how much this is going to cost, here's how much this is going to cost. That's essentially what a shot list is. Like when a director interprets the script, it's like, here's everything I need to make this movie the way I want to make it. Here's all the shots I need. Here's how much it's going to cost. That's how it should go. Like that's what I was going to say earlier. But a lot of these movies do this without that.
They have these. They're shooting them like fucking documentaries almost. And then there's these bloated budgets because of what you're saying. They don't know what to expect. They're tossing everything to CGI. That's why we get a lot of bad CGI now. Because it used to be, a
lot of bad acting too. Because you never know what scenes are going to connect, which lines are being rewritten.
Yeah.
You don't know who you're actually saying the lines to. You don't know if the scene is going to change. Right.
Marvel is, of course, the king of this, where it's so modular that they can just pull out people and put them in. Stuff like the Civil War fight, where a very good example is the Civil War fight at the airport. They never even went to an airport to shoot that. And it's like, go to an airport. Like, shoot in the location. But to them, since there's so much CGI, they're like, might as well do it all. And then we can pull out characters from the trailers so we can reveal them later. They do shit like that, right? Like the Spider-Man was a big offender for that, where you could obviously tell that the shots in the trailer were like, oh, there's other people in this shot that they've removed.
Right, yeah, but in No Way Home, you could, there was a shot where Lizard was clearly getting punched by somebody, but they were invisible. Yeah. In the trailer.
Yeah, and it's like, well, that's another Spider-Man. Obviously. Yeah. But like all this freedom that they get, that when you think about it, it's almost all around their ability to sell it and market it. It's better for the trailers if we can take blood out or characters out. It's better for overseas if we could do that. If a character's CGI, we can even fucking change his lips or her lips to say things in a different language. It's all now focused on how much easier it is to market a film or to sell the film than the other side, which is what they should be focusing on,
what the film
which is making the movie. Yeah. And it's so frustrating, and so it's really refreshing to watch this movie, which might have had some elements of that. Don't get me wrong.
I'm sure it did.
But it feels like a movie that actually put the movie in the action and thinking about it
There's
first.
A definite both sides moment in it where Ethan is riding his motorcycle to get on the train, and they're like, Kittredge is talking to Haley Atwell, who is disguised as Vanessa Kirby, about the key and getting the ultimate power that it has. And he's like, well, whose side are you on exactly? And she's like, well, if it comes to, I guess I'm on the side of everyone. I think I may be misremembering the characters that said it, but like,
no, it's one of the agents, and he says when it comes to the end of the world.
That's right. It's Shea Wiggum talking to his partner. That's right. You're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I totally had it wrong. But like, yeah, and so it's like trying to make it like it's. They try to make this. It was the same thing as Top Gun, where like they don't even identify who the
Generic
enemy nation is. They're trying to make it this idea that like, you know, it's the Ozymandias plot from Watchmen. It's like this. We need to. It doesn't like our petty differences don't matter. It's outside forces that matter. But it also doesn't identify like the outside force is an entity. It's an AI. So it's like it has no nation. Yeah. So it's being very safe in that respect. In a movie that's supposed to be about international espionage, it makes the enemy an AI that has no nation.
It's being very studio safe, which I think we've had for a while now, where it's like we don't want this, you know, they don't want to have any group as the enemy anymore.
Of course.
So AI is very convenient for them. Or
but
it's always
also,
like
it's also prescient and relevant.
Agent.
Like it's actually relevant. So it's like not. It doesn't feel that creatively bankrupt because it is actually relevant.
No,
like you were saying earlier. Yeah,
it feels as creatively bankrupt as any blockbuster. Which is to say, like, yeah, that's fine. Like, this is still a blockbuster, you know?
Of course.
I will say for a blockbuster, this did something that I did not expect that I thought was actually bold. And they mentioned a few times where someone says, listen here, our next war is not going to be a Cold War. It's going to be fought, like, on the ground. And it's going to be over our resources, our air, our water, our dying fucking planet. And I was like, damn. Way to bring down the mood at Mission Impossible, because you're not wrong.
Nope.
And I was kind of impressed that Mission Impossible actually mentioned that shit, where it's kind of like in Succession, where the guy's talking about how water is the next thing we have to buy. Like it very matter-of-factly has government people say, like, listen, the next war is going to be over our resources because our planet's dying. So that's why we want the entity. And I thought that was fucking dark and true.
It's grim.
Yeah, it's very grim.
I respect that they give Ethan some complexity in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I really respect that it's clear he's a man that has nothing, like, except for his team is the only proof he exists is his team. So he will die for his team. Like, even
he's given up on a life.
Even Haley Atwell, who he barely knows, and they make a point of that, where he's like, we'll accept you, and your life will always be more important than mine. And she says, well, you don't even know me, and he says, well, what does that matter? Like and they do a compelling thing where, like, they identify him as a man. Like, the bad guy Gabriel tells Haley Atwell that, like, Ethan's a guy whose people don't matter to him. It's only the mission. And it's the exact opposite is true, where it's like the mission is his reason to exist, but like his team is the only proof of his existence. It's like, so they do this kind of interesting thing with that, where like he's told that the fate of the world rests on him not killing Gabriel.
Yeah.
But And Luther, like Ving Rhames, drills that into his head before he gets on the train. It's like a 2-minute dialogue sequence.
Yeah, he's just like, listen, I really need you to not kill this guy.
You need to not kill him. Like the fate of the world.
He's like, no, I won't kill him. And he's like,
I won't kill him. I promise I won't kill him. I won't kill him.
Are you not gonna?
So like, and when he gets to Gabriel and he's beating him and he's got a knife to his neck and Gabriel reminds him, I'm the only one who knows the key does. And then Ethan thinks for a second about how he's killed Rebecca Ferguson, which I want to talk about in a minute.
Yeah, I want to talk about that.
And he's killed somebody else that was close to him, which is apparently what got him into the IMF in the first place. Ethan decides, fuck it, and starts trying to murder this guy.
Yeah, he's like, okay, I know I'm not supposed to.
He's going to throw away the fate of the world because he hates this guy so much, because he infiltrated his family, which is like the only proof that he exists. I thought that was a really interesting thing to do with his character.
I thought it was too.
Most of these movies don't do anything with Ethan. Ethan's not a character in most of these movies.
Yeah,
and in this movie, they actually kind of give him something that I could identify and articulate, and I thought that was really cool.
The problem And the reason why they don't get to do this that often is the franchise of it all, right? Which is like, when I was thinking about this, like, really, like, the only person who's been there since the first one is Ving Rhames, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I think they should do more with him, where it's like his life is in danger or something, because he's like, that's the issue, is they go through so many people, and they do it very sweatily in this one, where they just swap women, and I thought that was a little weird.
I wanted to pause on that. When I said I wanted to talk about Rebecca Ferguson, when you said they go through so many people, they don't. They go through so many women.
Yes, they go through so many women.
Yeah,
and that's a bit of an issue.
The
with
Mission
this
Impossible franchise only has room for one woman at a time.
Exactly,
and it's really embarrassing.
And they're always like kind of romantic interest, but they don't
really.
Also want to, because they know it's a little gross.
Because they know it's not right, but like they know it. They know it. Like the audience wouldn't be totally down with it. Like they wouldn't think it was cool.
Yeah,
but like, I don't know. It's so weird.
It's a hit against this, where they introduced a few other women characters who are clearly coming back in this one, but it did feel like it was like so blatant, which was like, oh, there's this new woman. Uh-oh. You're going to have to go now. And it was just like, fuck, man. Can't they just both exist?
They literally
look the same.
They literally kill off Rebecca Ferguson to replace her with Haley Atwell. And it's such a bummer. Because Rebecca Ferguson was so cool.
Look
and
identical.
I love her. Yeah. Well, they don't look identical, but I see what you're saying.
But they're both like they're like, they dress them similar. They have similar hairstyles.
Right.
Where
they're both like, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's a real like old mommy for new mommy situation.
Right. It's really
it feels
swapping
like
out an old model for a new model, even though I think they're the same age.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's
like three relentlessly aging men and a new, much younger woman each film.
Right.
It's
and
really
it's like,
embarrassing.
Come on, guys. Yeah.
Like they booted out Paula Patton and they had Tandy Newton. But that's I forget. Thandaway Newton. I think.
One of these.
I'm sorry, I don't remember what she recently corrected her name, and I don't remember what it was, and I apologize.
Oh, really?
But she was in number 2, and she's not in any other movie. Number 3 is his wife, who was it True Detective?
I think so, yeah.
I think, and then like 4 is Paula Patton, and they kick her out, and then 5 is when Rebecca Ferguson comes in, I'm pretty sure. Like, they just keep kicking out these women every film.
Yeah. It's maybe the women are like, listen, he keeps trying to recruit me, and I want out of this movie. Like, maybe there's something internal happening, but it really does. It's very blatant, and that's like the biggest hit against these films in general.
Michelle Monaghan.
Yep. And so, like, these movies aren't perfect, but they're in terms of action movies, in terms of action blockbusters, they're a step above the rest.
These are what the Bond movies used to be. Like, there's a new Bond girl, quote unquote, each film, but like the stunts are spectacular. And that's really what it's all about, the scale of it and the scope of it.
Even the newer Bond movies did have stunts and stuff, but Bond just kind of got lost in its own lore, and then they
really got obsessed with the lore, which they mistakenly thought was what we liked about James Bond.
Yeah. So every now and then that happens.
The lore of James Bond.
Yeah, where they're like, it's Spectre. We were behind everything, and it's like, I don't care. I don't care. Just I want to shout out some other sequences in this.
Do it, please.
The first is the use of the mask in the beginning when the Carrie Elways meeting. I thought was really cool. I wish it wasn't Ethan Hunt that was the reveal, but they did a really good job with that, which is that
You're not sure if it is.
We know what this movie is. We know the mask system. So they do this thing where they're all having a meeting, the leaders, and then they show a guy walking in, and it's like, you didn't show anybody else walking in. Why would you show that guy?
Well, and they also show that each person, they show a few people in the room notice that he's late.
Yes. And then they're talking throughout the scene, and you just see him in the background of all the shots, and they keep cutting them a little bit, but you're just like, who is he?
And the nature of the movie is you don't know if it's a person in a mask or if it's a person who's like going to be a double agent. It's like really, it's a good, They understand what they have with this movie and they play with it.
Yeah, they understand the tension because then you see him like open up his briefcase and you're like, what is he doing back there? What you doing, buddy? And that's a really fun idea. And then he gasses the whole room and it turns out to be Ethan.
He does the Tim Burton's Batman thing with the put this on right now.
Yeah. And they're very good at stuff like that. I want to note that there's music in this, but they know when to drop the music.
Yes.
And just let the tension play out. We haven't talked about the train crash ending, which I think is a really good set piece. Even though it's reliant on CGI, it would have been models in the 90s like it always would have been. I think they might have crashed the train for real.
However, I was about to say, I do believe that initial crash is a real train.
Yeah, it might have been a model. Again, that's the stuff. This is where I'm talking about where it's like, yeah, you need CGI to do a lot of this.
Right.
That's understandable. But the sequence it's still very good because they keep it very simple, which is
it reminds me of the Lost World sequence.
Yes, it's very much that.
Yeah.
And what it does, again, this is so. Oh God! Sorry, I want to talk about the train in general.
It's so fucking good, Dave.
I want to go back to Fast
and
Furious.
The piano, Dave.
When Vin Diesel drives directly down a dam, my brain short circuits because that's just a cartoon, right? Yes. And it's like it's supposed to be like, look how awesome this is.
It doesn't mean anything.
It's meaningless. It is because there's no real stakes. There's no struggle. He's having an easy time doing it. It's just a meme. That's all it is, and it's devoid of entertainment as far as I'm concerned. They do a sequence where he's on the top of a train. Let's start there. And again, plenty of CGI in the sequence. They actually shot on a train, but there's plenty of CGI. That doesn't matter. What matters is, for example, the train goes through a tunnel and they have to duck down. And they keep having to duck down because these fucking railings over them, right? And you really feel it, that these railings are almost fucking decapitating them. And then they're crawling in this train.
The tunnel, and there's a light, the light that decapitates Dennis Hopper in Speed, but it keeps
zooming by.
It's never in the same spot. It keeps being in different spots.
So they keep having to move. So there's like a game and tension. Then the bad guy whips out his knife and it's like, not now, buddy, really?
And he's like slashing at him. When he pulled out his knife, I fucking laughed. I was like, of course.
Yeah. And so they keep escalating it, and Tom Cruise is never in this position of he's not handling it easily. No, in fact, no one is, not even the bad guys. And it's doing this very spectacular thing, but then it's thinking about what the grounded reality of that would be and showing the effects. So you go back to Vin Diesel driving down a dam. If they did that and he just shattered his body in the process and barely made it out, then it's like you'd earn it, right? You earn the action sequence or the set piece by having it affect the people in a realistic way.
Well, there's something I wanted to call out, and it's such a small moment, and it doesn't mean anything. But it's during the car chase sequence when they're in the little piece of shit yellow car, and they get T-boned while they're in the traffic circle, and they spin around, they crash into like a fountain or something. And Tom Cruise gets out of the car, and he's getting Haley Atwell out of the car, and he's like, "Are you okay? Are you all right? Any bones broken? Are you all right?" Like they really do want you to understand that this is dangerous. Like it's not like it's not like Fast. It's the complete opposite of the Fast movies, where it's like they're all superheroes and none of this matters. Like this movie understands the thing that Indiana Jones understands, where it's like.
Stakes.
The stakes. We get more like The Raid or like any of those cool ass action movies. We get more invested when we feel like the hero is vulnerable. Like,
and don't get me wrong, they're still wearing all the plot armor.
Of course, and we know they're not going to die, but like it's still like when they take hits and you see that they take the hits, it makes it so much more impactful.
And they're again, it's not only that, but like. You know, like when she gets out of the car with no broken bones, that's unrealistic. But we don't think about it as much because the characters stop to actually consider.
They checked, yeah.
Whereas, like in the new Indiana Jones, he gets shot and then like lasts for like 40 more minutes,
and then he's fine. But the fact that they identify that it's a problem, like the fact that Tom Cruise doesn't want to jump his motorcycle over the cliff. Like,
it's dangerous.
Like, I don't want to do this. It's scary and it's dangerous.
And the ending on the train really thought about that because then the train. You know, it's a runaway train. After they're on top of the train, they detach the train from the front. It goes off of a exploding bridge, but then the rest of the cars start slowly going over. And of course, our heroes are at the front. And what they did there was so brilliant, which is that they're going from train car to train car as it's slowly tipping. They have to get through that train car to the next. And they'll do stuff where they have like the dining kitchen car with hot oil in the fryer spilling everywhere.
I was like gasping every time they showed the fryer. I was like, "Oh my god, get out of there!"
Because again, they don't just have them run through it. They treat
it's a
each
problem.
car
Like it's an obstacle.
Exactly. They treat each car like its own individual, unique problem. And it was like, that's so fucking smart, because that's actually what would happen. They're trying to get from A to B. That's more of a problem than just running it. Like, they have to get through by like traversing like hot ovens and hot oil, and they're grabbing onto the equipment and they're trying to figure out a way through. And they do that for every car. And then there's like the piano part. And
oh my god!
Something that would have been a 2-second set piece in Triple X2 has a train thing where he just like jumps off the train. Something that we take for granted in other movies. We just yada that with CGI sequences. They savor.
In a superhero movie, the fryer thing would have been like hot, like on his buns or something. But it's like, the fact that this movie takes the time to be like, no, these are like real people, and this is a fucking obstacle to have to try to get through.
And it's missing from so many movies now. Again, the Jurassic World is a very good example where it's like, dinosaurs are big problems. They're big problems. They shake everything around them.
If you saw a dinosaur, you would shit. It's so big. Like, you wouldn't be able... Like, your mind... You would shit. Like, it's just what would happen.
You would shit. And so to see a movie like kind of shoot things in a grounded way, treat things with the respect and like the scale that they deserve compared to the people, and like really have fun with it, it's just really refreshing of an action movie to see all of this put together in this for a plot that's perfectly fine. Like, I'm sure there's some plot holes in there.
Like you were saying, I appreciate how straightforward it is. It's just like, you need to get this thing. We don't know what it does, but these people want it, these people want it, and these people want it. That's fine. It doesn't need to be super complicated. It really doesn't.
And then he gets the thing, and it's still a part one. And they still are managed to make it feel like a complete film, where it's like, he got the thing, his character had an arc, and now it's like, okay, gotta go find the submarine.
Yeah, but the mystery of the key is part 2. Yeah,
it's very Lord of the Rings in a weird way, because it's like, now to go to Mount Doom. It's that feeling where they end on like showing the submarine of like, this is where we're going, folks, and then it ends. And so it's a very good movie.
It really was.
Yeah. It was refreshing to watch.
Tom Cruise is on a roll. Like, Top Gun was really fucking good, and this movie is pretty damn good.
I'm sad that these are coming out in a time where audiences are very, very fatigued. Because I do think this movie deserves more, but then you look at this fucking month, and it's like, I get it. Like, to watch all the films coming out this month, it's like a day's worth of watching, right? Because they're all like 3 hours long.
Right,
and
they have no respect for people's time.
No, not at all. And that's the thing. This movie, probably they should have cut it down. Yeah. Because all movies should be. But it's still very good.
Unless you're making a specific artistic statement, like if you're making a movie to be in theaters,
you're making an epic.
Yeah.
We used to have intermissions to solve this.
Yes.
Like, have an intermission then.
Yes.
And understand that a long movie is a big ask that we can't ask for every fucking movie, right?
Right.
We just can't. Like, over 2 hours. How long was I feel like even the Little Mermaid movie was long. Like, kids' movies
I'm pretty sure it's over 2 hours, yeah.
2 hours and 15 minutes. There's a reason kids' movies were always 90 fucking minutes.
Not even. Not even. Yeah, Dave, The Lion King is 69 minutes long.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, the 2019 one
is over 2 hours.
Yeah, don't do that. It's exactly 2 hours. It's 1:58. It's still a little too long. It's just like,
it's literally twice as long.
I think I don't know what they're doing anymore. I think it's just excess and lack of restraint, right?
Well, it's listening to this is we've talked about this on many a Hypecast, but I think it's like listening to the wrong things, like being too. I think the runtime is like, because obviously the reason to keep run times at 2 hours is so you can get more showings into a day. That used to be the financial strategy behind it, but
Right.
it's like
Also, it used to be that literally film, you just could only fit so much film.
correct,
But now
right.
it's
There's
all
only
digital.
right. There's only so many you could fit on a reel. And have you seen like they've been the images of the IMAX print of Oppenheimer have been going around social media.
Oh yeah, I think it's madness.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's fucking huge. But yeah, I think it's part of that is a symptom of being too online, where it's like they listen to a vocal online audience that just wants movies that are impossibly long. And it's like, oh, it should be but nobody actually wants to go to a theater and carve out like that much dedicated time in their day to seeing a movie.
Yeah, unless you're making an epic.
Right.
Like 2001: A Space Odyssey, only 2.5 hours long. And in my mind, that's a long movie. You know what I mean?
Like the subject matter should justify it too, for sure. Like Oppenheimer, I understand that movie.
Oppenheimer makes sense. Yeah, Oppenheimer makes perfect sense.
Napoleon, the upcoming Napoleon movie, 3 hours. Of course it is. But like
Yeah.
a Ninja Turtles movie, or like an Indiana Jones movie, or a Transformers movie, or a Mission Impossible movie should not be close to 3 hours long.
Yeah, there's a reason we call
What are
things
you doing?
epics. Yeah. For the love of God. I understand if it's like the last one, but like, yeah, know what you're making. Just know what you're making and know the length of something like that. Action movies used to be fucking 90 minutes. What's the first Mission Impossible? How long was that movie?
I bet it's about an hour and 40.
Let me look it up. Unfortunately, when you Google Mission Impossible, Mission Impossible 1, an hour and 50. That's fine.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, it's with credits. Yeah. They don't have to be that long. I mean, again, this movie was a blast.
The longer they get, the less complicated they can be.
Yeah, and again, the more also budget of $80 million for that first Mission Impossible.
Oh wow, that's surprising.
That's more than you probably thought, right?
Yeah, I figured it was
But
like
then you
$60
compare
million.
it to this one, Lord knows. Oh, the budget in this one was almost $300 million.
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. What are you doing? Like, it's Mission Impossible. Don't make a $300 million. It's so hard. It's making like $80 million in domestic right now. And it's like, there's no way you can expect that to make back
They didn't make
all that money.
They didn't make this for domestic markets, Dave.
Yeah, I know. But it's like, yeah, a $300 million, nearly 3 hour long Mission Impossible. It doesn't matter that it's good. Like, you've lost the thread. You've forgotten why people watch movies and watch these movies.
You're abusing your audience. You really
exactly.
are. Like that's kind of like what's happening with blockbusters right now, where they're all overlong, bloated budgets. They're
overlong,
bad. They're bad, like actively bad movies.
Yeah.
This
looking
one is
at-
not. So, like what you were saying at top, this feels like a victim of this rather than a part of the problem.
Yeah, like if this movie on its own was like,
In a vacuum,
like if
this movie would be incredible. Like this,
Yeah, but
if this
we're
movie
sick
was
of
the
this shit.
only movie like this to be released in theaters in the summer of 2023, this would be, of course, this would be the biggest movie this summer.
right.
Of course, it
but
would be.
look at the highest box office 2023. It's number 10 is Fast 10. After that, it's Transformers, Creed 3, John Wick 4, Ant-Man 3, Avatar 2, Little Mermaid Remake, Guardians 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, that's a sequel, Super Mario Brothers adaptation. It's like no wonder people are fucking sick of this. You go to 1993, 20 years ago, Jurassic Park, The Fugitive, The Firm, Sleepless in Seattle, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Decent Proposal, In the Long Line of Fire, Aladdin, Cliffhanger, A Few Good Men. Like, yeah, you got some blockbusters in there. You got some adaptations.
Movies. They're all so
Yeah.
great.
96, like you start getting things like that's when Mission Impossible came out. It was also there with Twister and Independence Day.
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
The
And like,
Rock.
yes, there's some sequels here, Batman Forever is in 95, but it's the that and Ace Ventura 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance. It's like, okay, you got 3 sequels. Everything else, oh no, GoldenEye is technically a sequel. So you got 4 sequels, and the rest are like original stories ish. Like there's a balance. I'm not saying never do sequels, but it's like that. It's so saturated that it's like, why would people want this lineup anymore? It's exhausting. It's exhausting. Like
well, and each
last
one,
year,
each one you do makes it feel less crucial. You know what I mean? Like each installment, like this is the 6th or maybe even the 7th Mission Impossible movie. I think it's the 7th. This is the 7th.
Yeah.
So it's like it feels less important. You know, like after a while, you're just not going to tune. You're just not going to tune back in. You know what I mean? Like if you treat it like a television show.
And we're just losing that ability to tell news stories or to tell really action stories or adventures that feel like last year. Out of the top 10, 5 were superhero movies.
Yeah.
And some of them were good, some were bad, but they're all like just cartoon shit. And it's just, I don't know. And then we have, Avatar and Jurassic World Dominion. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's no wonder people, this is it. This is the stuff they're pushing. No wonder people are starting to get really sick of this shit.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. Make Dead Reckoning 2 and then stop making these.
Make different movies.
Make different movies. Make
new
different
movies
new movies
for less money.
Yeah, make some new movie stars. Make some, or take the movie stars you have and make new stuff with them.
Yeah.
Fuck's sake, Yeah, so it's this is a great movie. Like, you should see Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. It's a lot of fun. But if people are like, I'm so fucking tired, then I get it,
It's indefensible. In that respect.
Yep.
And in
2023's defense, Barbie and Oppenheimer are right around the corner, and those are 2 original films. And I bet they might perform a lot better.
Barbie is
original,
IP, but yes.
In quotes, but you know what I mean. I really do think like it's just Indiana Jones and fucking Mission Impossible.
It seems
or
dismal
whatever.
right now. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's the too little too late, where it's like it doesn't even matter if these movies are good anymore. They're just exhausting because there's so many of them.
It's just noise at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've gotten
and
so many.
Flooded the market with them too. It's unbelievable this month. It's fucking unbelievable. There was an Indiana Jones out this month.
I know. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah. Who gives a fuck? People have already forgotten about it.
The movie came out 3 weeks ago. Nobody gives a shit about it.
Yeah. Nobody is even talking about this movie. Like,
not even
this
3
movie.
This movie came out. The Indiana Jones came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. People
Nobody gives a shit about it.
There's a Haunted Mansion movie coming out this month.
Sure, probably.
Yeah. There's so many, and it's just like, yeah, we can't fucking we can't keep up with this, I don't know. It's just it's too much excess, too long, too many sequels. It's just so clear that people are exhausted. There's a Bird Box. There's another Bird Box.
Yeah, who gives a shit? But I do want to say that this film, out of any of the blockbusters that we've listed thus far that I've seen, does actually seem to respect the audience. Like it. This is a great movie. It really is.
This is probably the best one this month so far. I'm sure Oppenheimer and Barbie will be great, but there's just too much. This should have dominated this month. It really should have, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's if you're gonna see any movie so far in July, this is the movie to see. Skip Indiana Jones. Skip anything before it. I don't even remember. See this, or of course, Sound of Freedom.
They're doing the L. Ron Hubbard with Sound of Freedom.
Yeah, damn it, Sound of Freedom.
Just buying up tickets. Like they're actually like conservative mouthpieces are actually posting.
It's so funny
images
where they're
of
like,
empty theaters
that's
where
odd.
it's like, this is a weird conspiracy. It's like, no, it's not a weird conspiracy. It's because you and your fucking friends are buying up all the tickets to make it seem like it's a big hit, but nobody's actually watching this movie.
It's really funny that they didn't identify their own thing that they were doing.
Yeah, it's the
like,
same
why
thing.
is this?
The reason Battlefield Earth is a fucking historic bestseller is because Scientology rallied around it and bought pallets
Yeah.
of the book. Pallets of
Yeah. So yeah, don't see that movie.
Probably don't see Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
It's probably bad.
Yeah, it's probably bad. It's probably pretty bad. Shit. Sorry, we're not just shooting the shit. You know what else is coming out? Fucking Cobweb is coming out next weekend. That's the one
Ooh.
by what's their name? Who did The Thing that I like? Man, I'm bad at talking. Marianne. It's the director of Marianne. I gotta see that.
Yes. No, I
That's
remember.
limited release.
Right.
Everybody see Cobweb.
Do that.
I'm just talking
Dave,
now. This
let's,
is just talking.
Can we end? Let's be done.
We
Let's
can
be done.
absolutely
Tell them some
end.
stuff. Tell them some stuff.
I just hope people want to understand for all our bitching. This
Dave,
was
shut
I
the fuck
really
up!
enjoyed this movie. I just want to say I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, it was pretty. This is a pretty good movie, honestly.
I had a lot of fun.
Truly, honestly, great movie. Victim of circumstance.
Yeah, bad timing.
Bad
This is we have a Patreon. Tom.
We do.
Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. You go on that, you get $5 a month. You get access to a bunch of exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys, all there for $5 a month. Check it out. We also watch movies with our patrons every Friday night, and we have a Discord community, and we have custom We Just Watched episodes, and all sorts of goodies on there. Patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. The end.
Indeed. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store, where you can find all kinds of cool original artwork and designs. You can have t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So slap your impossible peepers onto that.
Yeah.
You goofs.
Remember the theme? It went dun 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 dun, and then it went dun 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 after that.
Yep.
That was pretty cool.
It's the first song I learned how to play on the guitar.
Nice.
Yep. So you can
And then
imagine
it
it
went-
doesn't demand a lot from you.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's perfect though.
Yep.
And then it goes dun dun, and then it ended.